Okay. Okay, we're starting the ninth parak tonight. That's Lamed Zayin Beis, right? No, Lamed Tes Beis. Okay, finally we get the shotness. Eno else mishum kilayim el tzemel pishtim. The only thing which is prohibited because of shotness is wool and linen together. Ve'eno metame ben negoyim el tzemel pishtim. The only thing which becomes tame through tuma tzaras begodim is wool and linen together. Is wool or linen. Eno kodim levoluvshin shavish mikdash. The big dekun are not comprised of any other substance el tzemel pishtim other than wool and linen. Tzemer ugmalim v'tzemer chelim. Let's say you took camel wool, which is permissible. And you mix the tzemer rechelim, the sheep wool, which is not permissible, together. Shetarfan zebezeh imromin agalim, and the sheep wool was batel in the majority of camel wool. Then you can mix this mixture. You can weave this mixture in to flax. In other words, to linen. Okay, so it's only wool with linen, where the wool has not previously been woven into a garment in which it is the minority. Okay, is that clear? So, does that make sense? Yeah.
Well, I know what you're saying, but it doesn't make sense.
If the wool was woven in, if sheep wool was mixed in, let's not say woven, let's make it simple. If sheep wool was mixed in with camel wool, and it's batel barov, because the camel wool is the rove, then you can put the wool together with the flax, with the linen. Okay, that's not shotness. In rov min arachelim, usher. If the majority is sheep wool, then of course it's usher, because then the minority camel wool is batel on the rove sheep wool. Mechza 50-50, it's usher as well. V'cheina kanbis v'apishtan shetirfan zevazeh. Flax and linen and marijuana are similar, right? Linen and hemp, right? Hemp is similar to linen, but hemp is permissible with wool, right? So therefore, let's say you mix the linen in to the hemp, and the majority is hemp. Then you could smoke your garments, and you can also make them. Okay. Self-immolation would be advisable in that case. Hashirayim v'akalach, silk, which various different types of silk, which are called shirayim v'akalach. Emayin mishuklayim. Strictly speaking, there's no kilayim d'oraisa. Aval a certain name marisayin, because silk is similar to wool, and I don't know how, but because similar to wool, silk is similar to wool, so therefore it's also to make a garment out of silk and linen, midirabanan, because of this marisayin issue. We've named marisayin. Hakoyin v'aksosos, pillows and mattresses. There's no kilayim in them. As long as your flesh doesn't touch them. And the Gemara is going to eradicate this permissibility, this kula. Okay, there's not a lochel ma'isa. There's no minimum time spent for wearing kilayim. When you put it on, it's also right away, right? Similarly, lo yubash kilayim agabi asora. You're not allowed to wear kilayim even on top of 10 garments. I feel liknovas amechas, even if it's for such an honorable goal as to steal by meches, right? Nonetheless, you're not allowed to do it. Okay. By the way, the tradition to steal by the Israeli meches obviously comes from the Gemara way back when, because here it is. Okay. What? It's non-Jewish, right? But they treat the Israeli meches as a non-Jewish meches as well. All right. There's nobody who doesn't. From the most ardent Neturei Kartanik to the most ardent religious Zionist, it's a national pastime to cheat meches in Israel. All right. What? To cheat. Cheat meches. All right. Says more further. Ein also mishum kilayim. It's not also mishum kilayim b'chulei. You have to have specifically linen wool. Ksiv lo sil ba shatneis. It says you shouldn't wear shatneis. Tzemer pishtim yachdav. Wool and linen together. Ha'isyamer ein also elam yilil bosh. I might say it's forbidden only to wear. There's another puzzle that says it shouldn't come upon you. If it means it shouldn't come upon you, I might say you can't even be carrying a load made of kilayim, because the load of kilayim is upon you, literally, like a load on your back. Tamlo Stilbash. No, that's not prohibited. It says you're not allowed to wear. Just like that which you wear is something which affords the body pleasure. The only thing which is impermissible because of shatnez is something which the rock provides pleasure to the body, meaning it protects. It protects either because of the heat in the summer or because of the cold in the winter. That's the definition of a garment. Okay? Says the Gemara, Leis Dover, that's the case. Why does it say Leis Dover, therefore, for what purpose? Never does it say Lo Ya'le Alecha. It shouldn't come upon you if the only parameter of prohibition is when you are wearing it. Why does it say it shouldn't come upon you? Says Rabbi Nicha Bar Saba and Rabbi Yonah should say here, but Shem Rabbi Zira said, Shemia Beged Gadol, let's say you're wearing an oversized garment. And Yesh Bo Kilayim, and in one corner of it there's Kilayim. Umunach Bar, it's in that corner is dragging on the ground. Okay? Umiktsasa Ein Bo. And the rest of it, the other part of it, doesn't have Kilayim in. Lo Yechaseh Bo Mitzad Sheni. You're not allowed to wear even the part of the garment which has no Kilayim in it. Interesting, okay? In other words, if you can isolate the part of the garment which has Kilayim, and you can have that drag on the ground, it still doesn't make it mutter. Okay? Says the Gemara, when I say linen, do I mean even linen made out of sea flax? Afilu cannabis, even hemp. No, it says tzemer upishtim. Mat tzemer she'en lo shem levai, just like wool has no additional name to describe it. Pishton, so I've called it she'en lo shem levai, so to anything else which doesn't have an additional name to describe it, as opposed to sea linen, or as opposed to, what was the other one? Hemp, right. Minayin she'en lo shem levai, we know that wool doesn't have any additional descriptive name to it. Amr Shubin Levi, Ksiv, it says, Umeisha melech Moav haya noked. It says, Meisha king of Moav was a noked. Mount noked, what's a noked? A roe, shepherd. Be that as it may, so it continues on, it says, so return to the king of Israel, me elef karim, 100,000 sheep, umea elef elim temer, 100,000 rams of wool. So, elechol kari, it says, semer, it says, the rams are, the Stipleson points out, it doesn't say 100,000 wool rams, but 100,000 rams full of wool. So from this we see that stam wool is what it grows on ram's back, right? What grows on ram's back? Wool. And that's wool. I don't know if I'm making myself clear, but the bottom line is the Pasuk didn't feel compelled to call it Tzemer Elim, right? The wool of rams. So rather said rams full of wool, so we see that ram's wool is stam wool. It requires no additional descriptive phrase, and that's what teaches us that tzemer is whatever tzemer is called without any additional descriptor. And therefore, tzemer, we have nothing which is called wool, which the Torah forbade is kilayim, elo tzemer elim bilvad, only ram's wool. Okay? Similarly, no garment can become tamei with saras unless it is elatzemer upishtim, not nylon, not polyester. None of that stuff can be matame bin goyim. Okay, no synthetic fabric, not even cotton, which is not synthetic. The Chsiv, it says bebeged tzemer upeged pishtim. It has to be a wool garment or a linen garment. What about color? Can the garment be dyed and still be matame b'tzaras? No. Tamulomar beged semer or beged pishtim. Has to be either a wool garment or a linen garment. Ma pishtim kibriosa, just like pishtim means the way it comes off, linen, plain, which is off-white. Ka after griosa, so too the wool cannot be colored wool. Colored wool cannot be makab on the goyim.
It would have been difficult anyway to look at colored garments.
That's true, but we're learning it not just from the practical standpoint, but from the homiletic standpoint. That's correct. But you're right, it would have been difficult anyway. You know what? Fine. So it can't be dyed by human. But what about if you get black wool off the back of a black off the back of a black sheep, right? Black wool off the back of a black sheep, right? Maybe in that case, the wool garment which is colored, it does accept saras. No, there's a connection made between the linen and the wool. Ma'pishtim levana, just like the linen is white, avtzemer lavan, so too the wool is white. Tanin train klolin, v'lo damion dain l'dain. Now, we learned here two principles, but they're not similar to each other. That's bothering us. What are they? Tanin ein isur mishum kilayim el tzerim pishtim. There's no prohibition kilayim unless it's wool linen, but it's bein tzvulin bein levanin. It doesn't matter if the wool is colored or not colored yet. At the same time, Tanina, we learned, that by Nagaim, where it's got to be wool linen, it also has to be not only just wool linen, but it also has to be uncolored, undyed. Why the difference in parameter between Kilayim and between Saras? Okay?
One is Tuma and the other is Kilayim.
Yeah, it's easy. The Psukim seem to be phrased the same way. They both speak about Semer Upishtim. So our question is, where in the Psukim do you find the difference? Not in the concept. Okay, since the Psukim are phrased the same way. So it says, Rabbi Yonah Butzaira, boy, Yikumi Rabbi Mona. Rabbi Yonah Butzaira asked for him on the Shaila, Tamanato Amar, Ben Tzvim Ben Levonim. By Kilayim, you say, by Shatnez, you say it's whether it's colored or white. And here by Nagoyim, you say Ubilvad Levonim only if it's white. Amar Lesu said Shaniyahi. By Tzaras it's different. Shoshana Olav Akos, the pasuk repeats itself there. Tzemel Shnei Pamim. It says wool twice. From this we derive. What do you derive? Ma Pishton Kibriyasa, Tzemer Kibriyasa. Since it says Tzemer twice, it says Pishtim twice. So it says both of them twice, so ever derive that there's an additional parameter which exists by Tzaras and not by Shatnez, which is that has to be specifically natural color. Okay? Rabbi Zira said, it says that a kohen should wear a ksones, a bat, a holy bat. What does bat mean? Bat means a plant which grows by itself in single strands. What grows in single strands? It's a flax plant. That's how we learned that it's linen. 1 second. Sheep's wool also comes out in individual hairs. It's not like cotton, which is a ball, right? It's an individual hair. So maybe wool is also kosher for big tekuna. Says more, no. Perish b'Kabbalah, it says in the pasuk in Yechezkel, v'lo ya'alei aleim, there should not come upon them tzemel, wool, b'shorsa mishari apnimis u'baisa, when they serve in the kodesh, right? Meaning from within the from within the ulam and the heichal. There they should.
We're talking about a few less than 8 hours. We do not have to. So I agreed one day. I agree with it.
I'm sorry, it's not the heichal and the ulam. It's kodesh kadoshim. It's going by the Kohen Gadol Yom Kippur. It says the Kohen Gadol Yom Kippur should not wear tzemer. He shouldn't wear wool. But what's he wearing then, obviously? If not wool, then linen, right? So from this we say that that must mean that when the Torah says they should wear ksonas bad kodesh, the Kohen Gadol should wear ksonas bad kodesh, it says in Yechezkel you can't wear wool, so what by definition must the bad be? Linen.
Wasn't the Avnate?
Yeah, the Avnate was wool. The Avnate, but that's a machlokas. Where it's a machlokas which you don't see here. Machlokas whether the Avnate of a Kohen Hedyot was shatnez or not. That's true, but there is such a machlokas. But I don't know. I don't remember if the Kohen Gadol Yom Kippur wore a colored Avnate when he went to Kodesh Kadosh. And I think it was completely white, his garments. So I don't think he wore a colored Avnate. Pretty sure it was just a pure linen. The colored and the shatnez are linked. I think it was just pure unbleached linen or bleached linen, whatever, but natural color. Okay. In any event, hamibachutz the gra takes out the gra changes next two words to ole. Hamibachutz ole. Outside of the kodesh, there they can wear the wool, which I assume is in the besides the 8 begodim of the Kohen Gadol, which didn't include wool. It also was, as you said, in the Avneit. How do we know that the Kohanim are who are allowed to wear kilayim the Beis Hamikdash? Shneimar, it says they should wear Beis Hamitznefes sheish, the hat made out of sheish, which we will assume is linen. There's parei amigbo sheish, which is the adornments of their hats are linen. There's michlas avad. Their pants are sheish, they're linen. Morzor, woven. Vesavneit sheish morzor, and the belt, the gartel, which is woven in linen and includes also tcheles, vargomon, v'tolashoni. Uksiv, and it says, how do we know that sheish means here that it's linen? Uksiv, it says, parei pishtim yuah rosham. They should have hats of linen on their head. They say pishtim yuah mechmosneim, and they should have pants of linen on their hips. And they shouldn't hitch them under their places in the place where they sweat. In other words, the pants shouldn't come up to their armpits. Huh? It's possible. I don't know. I don't remember what context, but it's possible. In any event, Adora Shei, so all these things are linen, because learned Xereshava, Sheish from Sheish, and Sheish mi Pare, and the Sheish, of course, is learned from Pare, and the Pare from Pare, which means that we learned that since it says explicitly from that by the hat, that the hat was linen, so extrapolate everything else from that. Okay? Says the Gemara, well, Pare Pishtim it says in Yecheskel, the other things it says in the Chumash, but we learn out everything in the Chumash from Yecheskel. Says the Gemara, a new statement. I believe it's a new statement. And it's telling us what is tchelis made out of. Don't think tchelis is a natural dye. Rather, it's an animal dye. We know tchelis can come from indigo, from plant indigo. It says more, Mash shoni davar tolas, davar sheish b'chaim, just like the shoni tolas is a worm, right? Tolas shoni is made of the shoni tolas, which is a worm. The cochineal extract, I believe. Okay? Stuff which goes into red candies. Not kosher ones. Which has a life force. I've called the Rashish Baruch Chaim, so Tchelis for a government must be made have something which has a life force. Of course, we know it's a conch, the Murex trunculus. Says the Gemara further. No, that's a different thing. That's the brisker thing. That's a secretion from an insect. But Tolah Shani, they actually grind up the insect and make red dye. That's why there's no kosher fruit cocktail anymore. I don't know if you've missed it, but you might have noticed that there's no kosher fruit cocktail with cherries anymore. You didn't notice that?
That's part of the content.
Yeah. You haven't noticed it, have you? Because they used to have maraschino cherries. This is explained by Rabbi Chandloff one time. Maraschino cherries, they can use a dye which seeps out, because there are only cherries in the maraschino cherry jar. So they use a dye, one of the dyes which seeps. But in fruit cocktail, they can't use a dye which seeps, because it would make all the fruit red, which would not look nice. So they used to use one of the carcinogen dyes, red dye number 40, whatever it was. But they got picky on that. So therefore, they started reverting to natural dye. A natural dye which causes a red, which does not bleed, is Tolah Shoni, cocktail extract. So they just pound the bugs into a dye. And that is not kosher. So therefore, fruit cocktail with cherries is no longer kosher. Can't get a fruit cocktail with cherries. Happened about 3 years ago. Yeah. Obviously not eating fruit cocktail. You must not have had fruit cocktail for the past 3 years. Yes. Okay? You didn't remember this either? Huh?
No.
Okay. So that's the last one. It's something which is a live worm. So Tudchelis Ragaman are things which come from live animals. See, you come here to learn Torah Mado. In any event, says the Gemara further, Mat Tzemer Shein Lo Shem Levai, just like Tzemer has no additional descriptive name attached to it. Of Pishtim Shein Lem Shein Levai, so to linen's guy, which has no descriptive name attached to it. Rabbi Yoina Oila Bar Yishmael Sebeshem Rabbi Lezer Tzemer Ufishtim. The linen, woolen linen, shetarfa, which you mix together, osir, are forbidden. In other words, there's no bittul baro by Kilayim. Let's say we have 1,000 measures of wool and 1 measure of linen, and you weave them together. There's no bittul baro, because the Torah asur the tarovis. The Torah it said, even if they get mixed together, we don't care. We don't look at ratios. Tzemer Pishtim Mechtav are the case, one of those rare cases which defies the principle of Bittul Barov. Okay? So even when you mix them together, it doesn't do any good. Rav said it's forbidden when they're mixed together. I skipped. Keterosis, sorry, what does he do? Maybe lichavot tzemar muvatlon. You can bring a measure, a larger measure of camel hair ahead of time and cancel the sheep's wool, and then it's permissible to put the mixture in together with the linen. Thank you. Abba Bar Avuna B'Shem Rabbi Yirmiyah said, "Tzemar Pishtim Shetorfan B'Tolon." If you did mix them together, they're bottled. The one's going to attack this a minute and say, "What kind of nonsense is this?" Rav Amar Osir B'Tar Choivson. Rav says, if they're mixed together, it's forbidden. Ma Maflig. Does Abba Avuna name Rabbi Yirmiyah argue on that? How could that be? It's impossible. Says Amar Rabbi also beged bifnei atzmo. That which Rav was talking about, that it's forbidden, is when you're mixing tzemer and pishtim together in their own garment without any other ingredients. Madam Rabbi Yirmiyah, that which Rabbi Yirmiyah said it's permissible, by he the boy ma'avtoin chora, we already mixed the lamb's wool in with camel wool, so the lamb wool is bottled in the camel wool, and that's why it's okay in that case. Okay? Rabbi Hillel be Rabbi Valos. Hillel, the son of Rabbi Valos, Hillel beged b'shloshim ribo dinar. He had a Savile Row suit. It cost him an astronomical amount of money here, 300,000 dinar. V'yaveh l'Rebbe, and he gave it to Rebbe. Matzah Kilayim, Rebbe found Kilayim. In the old days, they didn't have shot in his laboratories, so guess what Rebbe did? You don't have to guess. This Sarfo, he burnt it. Rabbi Mona had a Savile Row suit, right? He gave it to Rabbi Chia Bar Ado. He brought it to Rabbi Chia Bar Ado, and that's what Rabbi Chia Bar Ado should do. It had shatnez in it. Amalei said, Zabli Slamis, sell it for the use of shrouds for a dead body. Now here's a little bit of a gears to change here. V'kayim ilove, stay by it adu machrich until it's wrapped around the mace. Because you know what? Unless you make sure it's wrapped around the mace, guess what's going to happen with this expensive suit? Somebody's going to make off with it, right? Amar Rabbi Chagai.
The solution of Rebbe was actually better, because by burning it, you could still mean that the object is, the money disappears. The gold is melted down.
What gold?
It's made out of.
Oh, you think it was made out of gold?
Maybe I assumed it was.
It's an assumption. It doesn't say that here. Yeah. Okay. Says more. Rabbi Chagai, Rabbi Shmuel Bar Yitzchak. Rabbi Chagai said Rabbi Shmuel Yitzchak Maisim Ibei Katzra, when he used to bring a suit home from the laundry or from the dry cleaners. Umesi v'love asura, it should be chayotin mefash b'shalei. He would sit down 10 tailors to check it to make sure there's no shotness in it. He was always nervous that maybe in the tailors in the laundry they stuck in some aberrant thread and made it shotness by error.
How did they test in the old days for shots?
Just by eyesight. The weaves were much coarser, so it was probably possible to tell. But when they couldn't tell, they would burn it. That's 300,000 dinner garment. He used to make a command in his house. They shouldn't put a wrap, whatever they're called, not a spindle. What are they called when a spool? A spool of wool, mikame nova the kitan, it was together with a spool of linen, begin pipa, because they get mixed together. Okay? Hashiraim v'akav new issue, getting back to the silk. Hashiraim is metaxa, type of silk called metaxa. V'akalach agbin kesar, another type of silk, which is indigenous to this area. I asked all the sailors, they said, Kalcha Shmot's name is Kalcha. By the way, remember such an easy Yerushalmi since Brachos? I don't. Says Yerushalmi further. I will assume name Marisayin. They're also because they look. The silk is also mixed with linen because it looks like wool. Rav Amar Kosher also named Marisayin, anything which is also because of Marisayin, a famous quote, Afilu b'chadri chadorim, also it's even forbidden in a secret chamber, even in the chambers within chambers. Masisa pliga Rav. We're going to find a whole bunch of brises now with argue on Rav. 1. Pishton shetzava b'cheres. Interesting halacha. A linen garment which was dyed with a color which is normally associated with wool. They had colors which are normally associated with the type of garment under construction here, right? So you dyed a linen garment with a dye which is normally reserved for wool. Lo yasimenu imra mefursama. You can't make from it a public hem. In other words, a hem which people are going to see, because people are going to say, hey, this guy is wearing shotness, right? But if you want to use it in your pillows and blankets where people are not going to see it, so mutter, that's permissible. Mastisa pliga Rav, the following Bryce argues on Rav. It says, most of if your money scattered in front of an idol, lo yeshlochechem, you're not allowed to bend down and pick them up. You shouldn't look like you're bowing down to Avodah Zarah. However, if it was a private place, mutter is permissible. So we see the Mara sign is not also b'chadri chadorim. It's only us people are looking. The following Bryce argues on Rav. Partzufos, they used to make the fountains or the springs with openings in the shape of an Avodah Zarah. So you put your mouth right up to the opening and drink, because it looks like you're kissing the Avodah Zarah, right? My Partzuva Shematil Mayim Bekrochim. The images for which the water comes in big cities. Lo yitem piv al piv. You can't put your mouth on its mouth. Shlo yekim na'achikla Avodah Zarah. So it doesn't look like you're kissing Avodah Zarah. If nobody can see what you're doing, because it's a private place, it's mutter. The following price argues on Rav. It says, "Visibly a Rav ain't shechten beguma. You're not allowed to shecht into a hole because over the verse of shecht into holes and gather blood to use in their religious ceremonies. Aval osu beguma toch beso, but you can make a hole in your house. Yishul sheikones adam l'socho in order for the blood to enter it. In other words, because it's clear that you're not going to use it for Avodah Zarah purposes. You shouldn't do this in the marketplace. In order not to imitate the apikorasim, but you can do it at home. Says the Gemara, Masita Pligo Rav. Fine, Bryce argues the Rav. If you're wearing clothes on Shabbos and they got wet, you reach out a courtyard, you're allowed to lay them down in the sun to dry. As long as nobody's watching, as long as it's not opposite the nation. The following Bright argues a Rav.
that's it. That you're not involved with the You're not my involved with the You're not doing this.
People are going to think you laundered them on Shabbos.
Maybe we'll go according to everything.
Put them out to dry on Shabbos, people think you laundered them on Shabbos. Okay? Masisa play a Rav, following Bryce argues a Rav, Biv Shu Komer Arbam Shu Sarabim. A sewer which has a roof over it for 4 amos shusarabim. Since the water comes out after 4 amos, ain't showing sochamayim Shabbos. You can't pour water into our Shabbos because it looks like you're carrying the water because they go far away. The Tylo we learned, however, concerning this if they were in a covered pipe which went very far away, mutter. Onetz kushamim. If it's during the rainy season when people can't tell whether you spilled in it or not, it's mutter. So you notice, however, there are pipes coming out of the main water system, and I guess somehow you can tell how the water got there, then it's also. Tai Bakapar, we learned Bakapar said, again, if the people can't see these pipes coming out, mutter. Be that as it may, even pleading out the Rav. All these cases argue. Rav said Marasayin is also b'chadri chadorim. We see in these cases Marasayin being mutter chadri chadorim. Answers the Gemara. Elaine pleading out the Rav. You're right. They argue Rav. The lace long kiyum. However, they do not have any bearing. They literally have no existence. In other words, that Rav overcomes all of them because Rav is what status? Tana, so you can argue on Bryces.
You want me to pay you back?
These were all Bryces. These were not Mishnah.
It's all Bryces.
It's not very familiar.
Yeah, we've had them in Gemaras. Maybe 1 or 2 of them are Mishnayos. I take that back. But that would tell us that Rav can even argue Mishnayos, not just on Bryces. Okay? Recording is mutter. Now remember I told you this had to be taken away. Here it is. By Kormiksosus, by pillows and blankets, it's mutter. Hard to tame out break on it's only if the pillow and blanket are empty. Avo mimoli, if the pillow and blanket are full, it's also. Why would you think that is? Because then what happens when you lie in the pillow?
I borrowed money from my brother.
If it's full.
Wraps itself
around you, and therefore it provides you protection or comfort, and then it's also. That's right. Very good. Okay. It's only mutter if it's placed on a plank. If it's on top of it, even if it's empty, it's also. Why is that? Because the bed sags and wraps around you. See, I told you this whole heter would be taken away. You're walking down the marketplace, famous case. You need to lavish Kilayim, and you found out you're wearing Kilayim. What do? So you all know, right? Got to take it off, right? You didn't know that? You knew that.
The question is if you're allowed to tell the person that he's wearing it.
The more it's going to resolve that. Train Amaroi. 2 Amaroi. So one said it's also you got to take it off right away. The Corona Marmutia one says mutter. Manamar also says it's the Dvartaro. What kind of chokhmas can you do? So rice is no way out of it. Manamar mutter, he says permissible. Kaihi the Omar Rabbi Zira. God covered Arabim. Greatest out of the masses. The masses of people have to look at you naked, not you're covered every year, right? And it pushes off the lav by 1 hour. So we don't pass this way. We pass it doesn't push away the lav. But the Yerushalmi does bring that speeding, as does the Bali as well. Tani we learned, aim a doctor keep the mace. It's interesting halacha. If you have a coin in the house, and there's a mace in the house, so you don't have to ask the coin to leave. You don't inform the coin. However, Stipler says, son says, it's only where the tomb involves the Rabbana. Such as there's a door, let's say there's a mason here, and there's a coin in the next room. But the door is closed, so he's only Matami the Rabbana. Why is he Tami at all? Because it's 2 separate rooms. Because Sofa Mace Lotzes, eventually the mace is going to come out through that door and out the front door of the building. And Sofa Mace Lotzes, we say is Matame Midrabana. even though the Kohen is not in the same room as the mace. So in that case, you don't have to tell the Kohen to leave. By Tumah D'Rabbanan, you don't have to alert him. It's a famous Nesivas on this. The Nesivas says, if you transgress a good kula, I'm going to give you guys. If you transgress an Aved D'Rabbanan b'shoigeg, you don't require a kapara. Why is that? Because the basis of rabbinic authority is lo sasur min hadavar she'erucha, which means you should not stray from that which they commanded you. When is it called straying? Only if you intentionally intend to veer off the path. But if you inadvertently commit an issa d'Rabbanan, so therefore it's not considered to be psar, and you don't require any kapara for that, because you transgress that which the Torah gave as the parameter of rabbinic authority. Until the Rebbe Hershel Schechter writes on this basis, the Chorah, one should never tell a community an erev is possible. For that matter, tell them there's an erev even though there is none, right? Why is that? Because at worst, what are they going to be? Shogegim, and then the Rabbanon, right? They're going to unintentionally unbeknownst to them, carry an area which is a rabbinic prohibition because it has no erev. So he asks, so Taka, how come anybody puts up a kosher erev? So he says, because it's falsifying Torah precepts to do that. You're not allowed to falsify Torah precepts. That's perpetrating a hoax on everybody, and that's forbidden. Okay? Says the Gemara further.
Getting back to sitting on a blanket.
Yeah.
Who was the famous Rav in Europe?
Stifler.
Was it Stifler?
His father.
He wouldn't sit on the train.
Wouldn't fit on the train, yeah.
So is he machmir on himself, or
he was machmir himself?
Yeah.
Speaking of which, no, they were cushion seats. Is the man?
That's the Stifler?
No, that's him. How'd you know that? You recognize the picture?
No, they didn't have color in the days of the Stifler.
Stifler died in 1985.
He did?
Yes. He had plenty of color. This is fellow wrote the Sefer. For all we know, he's writing the Sefer as we see the picture.
So he's still living?
Yeah. He's the narrative of Bnei Brak. He's the biggest bucky in the world right now. He knows everything, backwards and forwards. There's nothing he don't know. He's written books on the most obscure topics in halacha. He's written volumes about halachas of grasshoppers. Things like that. It's extraordinary bucky. Okay? In any event, after that interlude, says more, Tani, we learned, Ein medakti memes. See, in Litvish yeshivas, I should just say, Litvish yeshivas, we have a defense mechanism. Whenever somebody knows too much to make us uncomfortable, it makes us uncomfortable, we start saying casting aspersions on his capacity to learn. He knows a lot. He's a bucky, but is he a lamdan? So, but the truth is that I think he knows enough that he doesn't have to worry about that. Okay, we learned. Tani, aim and doctor keep a mace. Now, again, we don't inform a Kohen there's a mace there if the tumah involved is the Rabbanan. And so to V'lo Kilayim Beis HaMedrash, if you guys in the Beis Medrash is wearing Kilayim, if it's Kilayim the Rabbanan, then we don't notify it. Okay? And Kilayim the Rabbanan, we really haven't defined it. We're going to define later. We talk about in the morning, right? Shiur, Tov, even news. The concept, but we haven't talked about it yet in the evening. We'll get to it. Rabbi Yossi Avi Yossi Masnei V'Avatam Misa. Rabbi Yossi was sitting and learning, and there was a mace in the room. Now he wasn't a Kohen or Mandin Nofak, but those who left because there was a mace not in the room but another room, so it was the Tumah D'Rabbanan. Mandin Nofak lay Lomer V'Lo He didn't say Lomer Klum. He didn't say them anything to protest. Mandi Yosef, those remain. Also, Lo Marle Klum, he didn't say anything to protest their remaining.
Isn't it bizayon to learn in the same room?
No, there wasn't in the same room. That was the point I just made. It was Sofa Lotzis, but it wasn't in the same room.
Can you go back just one second? It says, aim back on the base are a little bit quiet.
Yeah. People are learning. You don't notify them to leave. That's what we're talking about here. Okay? Rabbi Yami Abi Yossi Masli. Rabbi Yami was sitting and learning. In his presence, one guy who was there said to another guy who was there, I'd love Kilayim, we're wearing Kilayim. And I guess it was Kilayim the Rabbanan. Only Rabbi Ami said to the guy who notified the second guy, he said, you know what? Shlach monach, you take off your clothes, v'yoyevle, and give it to him. Because he's learning here bottling, so get out of here. Okay, Tani. We learned. Ain't that right? It worked. Tani. Ain't that right? Kilayim based on Mikdash. In the base on Mikdash, there's no temporary permission for a Kohen to wear Kilayim. Now, that means he's allowed to wear Kilayim at the time he's doing the Avodah. The moment he finishes the Avodah, he's got to take it off. Because then, right, it's personal use, he's not allowed to use it. That's why it says, but Tai doesn't say Kohen it says a Kohen who went out of the Beit Mikdash to talk with his friend. If he was there with a long time, told him he has to go to the mikveh. In Mishav, for a short period of time, he at least has to watch his hand and feet when he comes back in. But be that as it may, it doesn't say he's allowed to go out and it doesn't say they has to change out of the Kilayim, right? It says more Kambi Big Day Zav, Kambi Big Day Lavan. It says more, we're talking about the Lavan. We're talking about the Kohen's wearing the linen garments. And maybe he did take off his gartel, he took off the avnei. So it's talking about linen garments, so there's no shatnez. But in the Kohen Gadol's garment, he can't even tarry in a moment to schmooze with his friends because he's wearing shatnez. Lo yale alecho, you're not allowed to put it upon you. Mutilatio tachtecho, but you can put it underneath you. Avol mechachami lo yaskein. This is the source for the Stiples Chumrah. Chachami said you shouldn't do this. Shalotei nima achas ol b'sor, lest one thread go on your flesh and provide you with geschmack, with protection, and therefore it's forbidden. Okay? Says the Mishnah further. No, he stood. He stood for hours. This is not a Maisa book. You know, by Litvak's tradition, this whole concept was a pet peeve of mine. So once you brought it up, Maisa, since we're doing well tonight, so once to relax a little bit. It's a pet peeve of mine. Once this concept of stories. Gedolim stories are very popular nowadays. I don't know if you noticed that. Well, in my latest article in the Jewish Observer nowadays, and use it as a vicarious means of Avodas Hashem. In other words, I don't have to achieve it as long as I can tell a story about it. Right? That's why, people tell stories about Reb Moshe and Reb Yaakov and all these people, great people, but they're not doing it in order to emulate them, but rather to say, well, they were so great, so I feel good that I'm a fan of theirs. It's like they have a great accomplishment. So it's really a substitute for bona fide growth.
Maybe they're telling the story too, so we can emulate it.
Usually not. My sense is that they don't. So that's why Litvak traditionally never told any stories, because they're busy competing with each other, trying to excel, right? So that's why I don't think the Stipler's son would tell any stories.
There's a corollary after this.
Okay, you don't want it on the tape, do you?
That's not necessary.
New Mishnah. We're going to get to going to do this mission, then we'll stop. Now, mitachos yadayim are hand towels. I'm sorry, not hand towels. They're handkerchiefs. Mitachos asfarim are mantles of Sefer Torah, mantlach.
Moshe says it's like. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Mitachos aspag, which are towels. Amen. There's no kilayim in any of these things. I think the first one is a handkerchief. Pretty sure about that, because the last one is a towel. Right. It's a handkerchief. Mitpachas hayodayim. Right, handkerchief. Right. Belezer says in all these cases there is kilayim. Mitpachas hasaporim, barbers, whatever they're called. The thing your barber puts on you when you go to the barber shop. An apron, right. Mitpachas hasaporim asur shim kilayim. They're forbidden because of kilayim. Tamar, today we learned over there about Tumatara, Shosh Mitpachusein. There are three types of kerchiefs. Shel handkerchiefs, Tamea Medras. It's sometimes used to sit on or lie on. Or to put your handkerchief on your head, or below your head when you're lying down. So therefore it's Tamei Medras, a Zav, or Medras of a needle. The Shal Sapar is Shal Svarim, The matlach used for Sefer Torah, they're not used to lie down or sit on, but if you touch them, they're metame tumas tmei mace. Shel tachrich nivle b'nei Levi, those that are used to protect the musical instruments of the b'nei Levi or any other musician. Torah miklum, they're not makabel tuma because they're not kalim. Because kalim imply that they have usage independent of being the cover for whatever they're originally created for. Okay? Rabbi Lo b'shem Rabbi Yochanan said, "Mibnei shein noisna al keses v'yoshin oleha." Why is a handkerchief tamei? It's mattress because people sometimes sleep on it, right? They put it underneath themselves and sleep on it. You put it on your pillow and you sleep on it. You put it underneath your arms like this. Okay? So that means to make use of it as something to, so to speak, sit on. Or rely on. Rav Amar Osur, Rav says, by all these three cases mentioned, it's also, and they are kilayim, like those who answer. Why does he say straight up he's passing at Rabbi Lezer? So I'll tell you why. Because he's tani machlef. Because there's some mishnayos which says the exact opposite. Rabbi Lezer's mekel and chachamim are aser. So everyone had to say that Allah is like the Mandamar says aser. Rabbi Yochanan, you have mapa amonoi. Rabbi Yochanan used to put a garment on his like a napkin, which was made of kilayim, on his clothes in order to protect them. You know, when he was eating. Because of kilayim, says more no. The lawyer now he's not doing to protect himself in the heat because of the heat or in the cold because of the cold. He's doing to protect himself because of dirt. That's not called kilayim. That's okay.
According to this logic, so it has been down to
right. Not to protect your clothing. What? That's a good question. That protects your hand. So which protects your clothing is not connected. Right. It has to protect your hand from something. Okay? Here it's the emphasis, the lo yinavlun monoi. Right? In order not to get his garments dirty. Okay? Rabbi Zikr said, Yoel Rabbi Avuna, Be'el Sabamapa, they gave Rabbi Avuna an egg, in any event, look at this. They gave him an egg in a baseball glove. He's making lime, which I can lime in it. Vulo Mikabel, he wouldn't accept it. Because he held that this is similar to not wearing it in the sun because of the heat or in the cold because of the cold. And here too, he's protecting himself from the heat with a baseball glove which is holding the egg. Okay, so it's not the same kind of protection, right? You can still make a point of your chiluk, obviously, but you see that any type of protection, such as insulating, such as an oven mitt, the people actually check their oven mitts. Are you aware of that? Last time we went to the Shatner's place. It's on their price list. Suits, dresses, baseball gloves, oven mitts. And this is the Makor.
Check in my barber sheet too.
Says Amar, Mitbechos HaPorim, Asforim, the mantles of Sefer Torah of Yerushalmi Bar Nachman said, they also saw Kamin Teak. You make it like a container, and it should be Masima Becheko. You put the mantle in your lap, and also Sefer Torah still. In other words, it has independent existence, because not just use the cover Sefer Torah. When you take it off the Sefer Torah and you want to read the Sefer Torah, you put the mantle on your lap and put the Sefer Torah on top of it. So there's other uses as a keli other than it's being bought to the Sefer Torah. I have another interpretation because you use the mantle to heat your hands. So it's again providing protection. Arbun Bachil Rabbi Ba said Rabbi Ba, and the Groch's next word should be Vilama Eino Asu Mishum Kilayim. He said, no, you have to understand that for him to warm his hands would Takabi Asu Mishum Kilayim. There's no doubt about that. Our whole question is when he's using it as something else. But for the purpose... No, I'm not sure I got that right. Just a second. No, I got that wrong. All right, let me go back a line, right? Rav said, because he's eating his hands. So they're about to tell us that that's why it's Kilayim. If that's the case, what's the Havamin of the Tanakama? Our Mishnah says it's okay. If you're using it to warm your hands, right? If it's a mantle which you're putting on your lap, told Sefer Torah says that might not be called Kilayim. Tanakama curl, it's okay. But using it to warm your hands, of course it's Kilayim. It's no shiur, it's like gloves. Amalei Ravada. Amalei Rav. No. Amalei V'lo Ravu. The Rav Amar Osur V'lo Divrei Osur. So he says, no. Rav, who came to say that it's Osur, he meant to say that everybody, that Rabbi Lezer Asers, even by mantles of Sifrei Torah, I'm going like Rav. I don't know what Tanakama holds. I'm explaining Rav's svara that who passed him like Rabbi Lezer in all cases, that no matter what, it's awesome. Okay? Amar Rabbi Ba. V'lomar lo Amar le. Why did you mention Misalakta? That it's a no, when you put the Sefer Torah back. One second.
It's not figuring to me like the Pumbedisa.
Oh, so would it mean that you would not get even
to said to him, he plays, if you want,
if you would write on all of them, not
look the Chamich.
Yeah, okay, so it's like this. I'm Rabbi Yonah, Rabbi Paul, why didn't he answer? Why didn't he answer Rabbi Ba and Rabbi Chia? Why didn't answer Amish is there? Because Amish is tell you about when you're taking the Sefer Torah back to the Oro. That's why, according to Tanakama, it's Mutzer. Whereas I'm talking about a case where you just take the mantle off the Sefer Torah and use it to warm your hands, and that's the case which is also. Why didn't you draw that distinction? So it says the Gemara Amar Le said, Ilu Amar Le below kach ein asur ba'anoya. He says, no, you're missing the point. If you would have said that dichotomy, that Amish is talking about where you're putting it back, and that's why there's no Kilayim. Whereas the statement of Rabbi Yonah, of wherever it was, Rabbi Bob, Rabbi Chia, it's the name of Rav, it's talking about a case where you're not putting it back in the Oro, but you're taking the mantle off in order to warm your hands, right? So says the Gemara, Ilu Amar Le below kach in asur b'noya. If he would have said that, listen, isn't it also b'noya anyway? In other words, you wouldn't have to ask because of Kilayim. You wouldn't have to say it's usher to take the mantle of the Sefer Torah and use it for your hands to warm up because of Kilayim. It's also because it's designated for Sefer Torah. You're not allowed to warm your hands with the mantle of a Sefer Torah. It's also b'noya for any other purpose, right? So below kach in asur b'noya, is it also b'noya anyway? Marvel and Meimarle. How could he possibly have devised such a scenario? Literally, what could he have said? How could he have said this? Meaning, I don't know if I'm making myself clear enough, but meaning, when is the only time you're allowed to use the mantle of Torah to warm your hands? On your way back to the Oro. Because then, since you're on your way back to the Aron, and your hands are in there naturally, so you're not getting an additional anah from it, other than, that what you're getting by coincidence while you're carrying. Collateral anah, let's call it. Okay, so that's what it means here. When he said that, when he said, Shemechami bas yodav, and in that case it's also, you can't answer, well, what's the case that's mutter when you're taking it back to the Aron? Because he meant, when are you warming your hands with it, which is also, when you're taking it back to the Aron. Because that's the only time when you're allowed to warm your hands. Because it's only collateral hana from the job which you're performing. So if that's the case, we have a problem. The problem is with the problem which we wanted to address before. If you're warming your hands at a time which is permissible, taking it back to the Aron, and that's also, right? So what's the case that Tanakama was matir? And at that we're answered, I don't know. I'm going like Rav, who said it's also regardless. Okay? Mitpachos sapak. A towel, why is it mitame? No, why is it kilayim? Well, I guess also why it's mitame. Why is it kilayim? Because you wear it sometimes. When you see a Rebbe coming and you in the bathhouse, so you wrap yourself in it. Rabbi Yerushalmi Kilayim said, "Bal norei noshim," oversized towels which women use. As for Mishin Klein, that's because they wrap themselves in it. He bal norei noshim, he bal norei anoshim. There's no difference between the oversized towels which men use and oversized towels which women use. Mao bal norei noshim. What's the etymology of the word bal norei noshim? The aprons of women. The Rabban and the Kitzurme antitiyah, whatever that means, and an oversized bath towel. Mitbachos saparim, it should be the barber's aprons. When are they also because of Kilayim? When you want to wear them. I don't know anybody ever want to wear them, but if you want to wear them, you don't intend to wear them, rather just to protect your clothing. As I said previously, Lo Badar, there's no problem with that. We'll stop here for this evening. Today we did Mem and Mem Aleph.
Mem Aleph.